It's time now to take you through the morning's newspapers, and with me to do just that is the broadcaster and journalist Afia Hagen and political commentator Benedict Spence. So very good morning to both of you. And well, one story in town really as far as the front pages are concerned. I think all but one go with the extraordinary political events of yesterday. Afia, the Guardian's take on it is pretty stark. A day of chaos, they say.
Yes, absolutely. And I think The Guardian have probably nailed this one on the head. Another day of chaos in what seems to be the 39th day of chaos of Liz Truss's time in office. And a lot of commentators now saying, and politicians actually, that it's 50-50 whether she will stay in office until Christmas. And that The Guardian says here that one's quoted as saying they wish that they could wave a magic wand and get rid of her now. They've said if they could do that, then they would, but the problem is the mechanism. So it seems now that we've got to a point after yesterday lunchtime when we saw Liz Truss basically throw Kwasi Kwarteng under a bus. Somebody has got to be the fall guy for everything that has happened over the past few weeks, with the turmoil in the markets, with the pound tanking, then recovering, then tanking again, and the confidence that has been lost in the pound and in the British economy. It seems like Kwasi Kwarteng was the person, was the fall guy. You know, he was summoned back from the United States, as it were, from those financial meetings in DC. Apparently, he found out that he was losing his job effectively from news flashes from the British media, that Jeremy Hunt perhaps got a call earlier in the morning at 9:30. So it's not just about the fact that she has got rid of someone, that somebody has to be the fall guy, but it's how she's done it as well. And then her pretty disastrous speech, just over 8 minutes, no apology. She keeps saying that she's not returning, but there's U-turns and handbrake turns all over the place. So absolutely, I think, you know, over the political spectrum and over the news that we've had out of Number 10 over the past few years, yesterday was pretty extraordinary. So yes, I think The Guardian have nailed it, a day of chaos.
Okay, and let's move on to the Express, because Benedict, I think this is probably the most sympathetic of the headlines that there are tomorrow, basically focusing on Liz Truss saying she's not going to quit. But as Afia was saying there's huge pressure on her, not just from the markets, but her own MPs as well. And a lot of people asking the question, she sacked the Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng, but the two were in this together, weren't they? She won her leadership on the back of promises of policies that he was introducing.
Yes, we thought we'd mix it up a little bit with the front pages, introduce a little bit of variety, a bit of spice, and we found one that wasn't just she needs to go right now, and that is the Express, which goes with vultures circling, but Truss is not for quitting. And I don't think that that's necessarily a ringing endorsement, that's as close as you can get. But ultimately, this is the problem, as you say. You know, the two of them, they came as a pair. They weren't running on a sort of a joint ticket, but it was a fairly open secret, actually, that, you know, Kwasi Kwarteng was going to be very senior in a Liz Truss administration, if not about the Chancellor. And, you know, the fact that she has thrown him under the bus effectively, you know, I think it's fooling absolutely nobody. I don't even mean that necessarily with the public, but I certainly mean that within the party. Everybody is well aware, whether they back Liz Truss or not, that this is Trussonomics, not Quasinomics. And so, you know, to try to blame him and to U-turn, volte-face, and bring in a so-called centrist in Jeremy Hunt to try to placate the party, I mean, even if it did appease people towards the centre or the left of her party, it's just going to isolate her supporters, especially her biggest supporter, who was Kwasi Kwarteng. It leaves her without very many friends. And, you know, it's sort of magnificent in a way. You know, she painted herself as this new Iron Lady, and it turns out that she's so new that she's still molten. She's got all the strength of a liquid, and she's burning everything she touches. Yeah, as Afua said, it's the 39th day. It's such a short period of time that she's been in. But absolutely all of her authority and influence has evaporated with this U-turn. And I know that this won't be the most popular thing amongst most people, but honestly, after she'd announced these measures, which anybody could have told her, you know, the sort of the headline figures were going to be unpopular. After she'd announced it, the only choice that she had, if she wanted to maintain any sort of strength, was to keep going and try to bully her own MPs into coming alongside with her. But by U-turning, she's allowed them to win. She then, you know, all of that authority is gone. And it is now only a matter of time. I mean, The Guardian says 50-50 whether or not she makes it till Christmas. I've heard some people wondering whether or not she'll last the weekend, and it's, obviously there isn't a 22 committee of getting rid of her just yet, but the 22 committee can change its rules, and ultimately her cabinet could just turn around and say, we're not going to back you.
Okay, and the Daily Mail is also posing the question, how much can she and the rest of us take, Afia, isn't it? But Benedict was saying her only way forward, once those policies were announced, was to push them on through. But the problem was the markets as well. The markets still in a certain amount of turmoil in response, aren't they? So she's not just got to appease MP, she's got the markets and the public as well.
And Benedict is right, actually. If she wanted to be this Iron Lady that she purports to be, then the only way to do that was to stick with her policies, to stick with our Chancellor, actually, and go through with them. But she didn't do that. She's made a massive U-turn, as have the Daily Mail, who were very much Liz Truss supported her through her leadership challenge, said that the economic plan was good, that it was viable, and now they have completely changed their mind, which is really interesting. The first paragraph said her first 38 days in office have proved to be some of the most shambolic in British political history, and that is pretty scathing coming from the Daily Mail. And Liz Truss can see now, as you said, she has to please the markets, she has to please the British people, she also has to please the British media, and she seems to have lost the Daily Mail, even the Telegraph, criticising her now as well. And it seems that, she absolutely isn't this Iron Lady. Benedict put it perfectly, that she's molten, she's liquid going everywhere and burning up everything she touches. Her tenure is no longer viable. Like we said, Kwasi Kwarteng did have to be the fall guy, but this is a plan that they came up with together. And I think it is now a case of not if, but when she goes.
Okay, and that seems to be the mood of the paper. Certainly the Daily Mirror says time's up. They say calls grow for a general election, presumably calls from Labour, Benedict, on that one. But she would argue, I've acknowledged there have been some issues, I've reversed some of those, I've got a new Chancellor now, give me some time.
I mean, obviously, the Mirror is going to be in favour of calling for a general election. It's being sort of slightly leaning to the left. That is, of course, what the Labour Party would want. I would actually argue, as much as I think we need to probably dump Liz Truss, undergoing a general election cycle at this moment in time is not what we need. That's why it's so frustrating, because actually what we need is just a firm hand on the tiller to come up with policy, put it forward. We don't have time for the campaigning. We wasted a lot of that on the Tory leadership.
Okay, we must leave it there. Apologies, but we're out of time. Benedict and Afia, thanks very much indeed.